Hi, I'm Carmen.
And I'm Steven, and this is Vienna Past and Present,
where we walk through the gilded and sometimes not so gilded halls of Vienna's history. So it's summer, and that means that Vienna is headed to the seaside, by which we mean the Danube, which is really the best that this little landlocked country can offer.
Still a big river, but yeah.
It is a river, but that's our seaside, so we're gonna go with it. And we thought it might be a good time now to look into the history of Viennese bathing culture, and in particular Vienna's largest open-air swimming pool. So we're talking about a place where Vienna gets hot, sweaty, and also sometimes very naked.
Whoa.
And that is the Gänsehäufel. So Steven, have you heard of this place? And does Vienna have this reputation to you of nudity and, bathing culture?
Okay, not really. I'm not surprised. I've not heard of this place, but I mean, hot, sweaty, and naked. I don't know if that's in the top 10 things that come to mind for me. I'm about to commit a cardinal sin against Austrians right now. I realize that, but I think Germany has more of this reputation for me, right? Naked swimming in summertime at local lakes kind of thing in Germany, or even topless French ladies at beaches. It doesn't necessarily seem Austrian, but again, not surprised at all. And I guess I think of Vienna as more of an indoor naked spa place for some reason. Maybe that's just based on, your stories and your routines.
Is that what you've done while you've been here?
Oh, yeah. Maybe. But yeah, from what we found, this story has a lot of twists and turns, more than I expected. So we're going to go from 1900s hippie pioneers to conservative backlash, then to a symbol of Red Vienna, and then finally to an institution woven into Vienna's culture and lifestyle. Move over Republic scales, okay? Previous episode callback.
The Gänsehäufel is here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice callback. All right, well, actually, maybe before we get into this, should we do a little German test? We haven't done this in a while. Can you actually pronounce...
So look, I'm looking at the words. This is what I would say. I would say Gänsehäufel. Gänsehäufel.
Gänsehäufel.
Gänsehäufel?
Yeah, that was good.
Really? Is that closer?
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, okay, you know what? This is where an A is actually an E and an AU is actually an I. Okay, there's tricky business happening here for anyone visiting Vienna. Okay, this might be you point at the word. Okay.
There's lots of A's with dots on top of them happening.
Yeah, save yourself and whoever's listening some pain.
Okay, but you got it pretty well. So, it's the Gänsehäufel. So, let's start with a few facts and figures. So, the Gänsehäufel is not just Vienna's largest open-air pool, which I'm not even really sure what to call it, because it's more than just a pool. It's a whole recreation area. I think the British call it a lido, which I only just recently learned.
Yeah.
In German, it's called a Freibad. So, it's not just a pool. It sort of also includes some beaches along the river and some general recreation areas. So, maybe it would be more of just an outdoor swimming and recreation area. I don't know what you would call that in the US.
Okay, outdoor swimming and recreation area, I get that. Lido, I had never heard. And we were just talking before we recorded, and I was Googling and kind of I was wait, what? Is it called something? And I mean, at least in American English, that is wildly misleading, I think. I got Lido Somali restaurant in Seattle. I got something that you could rent that was beach related. So maybe people are kind of trying to use the word here, but I had never heard it. I guess you'd say recreation area, or we might say state park and seashore or something like that, but that probably doesn't really capture it. That's just kind of what we would call it. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure it translates all that well. So anyway, it's a Freibad. I guess that's a lido or some kind of outdoor.
Okay, I hope that helps you.
All right, but so actually it's an island that is in an old arm of the Danube, and it covers, or it offers over 1 kilometer of beach because you kind of have the Danube on all sides, right? It's an island.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there's beach all around, which is quite nice. There's 5 pools, and because it wouldn't be Europe without this, obviously there's a nudist area.
Okay.
And it can accommodate about 30,000 people. Yes, you heard that right, 30,000.
That seems like a ton.
It is huge, but 30,000 people is a fuck ton.
Yeah,
actually. When I think about it.
Right, when you go there, you're there are 30,000 people here and I can feel it, or not really. It's big enough that 30,000 comfortably?
I mean, it spreads out. It is really big, and so people really spread out, and you have all the different pools, you have the different parts of the river, the little beaches and stuff. So it never really it does get quite full, but 30,000, if you had asked me, I would have said I don't know, like 5,000, you know, which already seems like a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's become a bona fide Viennese summer institution.
Okay, so I have a nudism question already. So, like, when you go there, is this like American-style nude beach where it's like, oh, it's sort of the last one, and there's like a little sign, and you kind of have to walk the furthest to get there, and you wouldn't just stumble upon it? Is it like that, or is it just kind of like right next to the parking lot?
It actually is the former.
Okay.
So it is like a fenced-off, closed-off area where there are signs, and you wouldn't just stumble into it, actually, and it is like the furthest, you know, distance. That being said, though, there are several nudist areas that are not part of the Gänsehäufel in other areas along the Danube that you do just stumble into and that are just kind of randomly there. So it's not that Vienna doesn't have that sort of thing, but I think because this is like a municipally run recreation area, they're a little more like, prudish or like sensitive around.
Okay, yeah, just sort of like taking the, you know, nudism temp. All right.
Yeah, so I'd say for European standards, this is like real mild.
Okay, so what does the name actually mean? Gänsehäufel. How'd I do?
You did very well. You learned fast. You're a quick study.
Yes. Okay, don't ask me tomorrow, but right now I'm fine. I'm a crammer.
All right, maybe we'll do a quiz again at the end and see if you've remembered it.
Okay. So how did it... Yeah, what does the name mean?
Right, so Gänsehäufel, it's kind of a funny name because it literally means goose pile. Like, Gänse is geese and Häufel is a pile.
Okay.
So romantic, right? Goose pile.
Yeah, you know, TBD. I mean, what kind of pile? Like...
A goose pile. It's sexy.
Yeah, is this like a pile of bodies of geese? Or what?
That is what you would kind of think, right?
Yeah.
But there is actually a historical reason for the name.
Okay.
So before the Danube was regulated, which probably deserves its own episode at some point because that actually really shaped the city in a lot of ways. But anyway, you have the Danube. It was regulated in especially the 19th century. And before that, there were two small sandy islands in the river that were used to herd and breed geese in the 18th and 19th centuries, which like, I didn't know that breeding geese was a thing. Apparently it was.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess you'd have to get them somewhere. All right.
Yeah, I guess maybe people were eating the geese. I don't know. What are you doing with them? I guess it's food.
Yeah.
But in any case, so you had these two little islands in the river, and there were lots of geese on these islands, and so the bigger one of those is what we now know as Gänsehäufel today. So it was originally, the name really comes from the fact that it was kind of a big pile of sand, which was the island itself, that had geese on it. And so it's a goose pile in the sense that it's an island with geese on it.
Okay, all right. That's like it took a little turn at the end for the better. All right, these geese they're like living-ish. All right.
Yeah, it's not a pile of dead geese, although maybe there were some of them too.
Right. So it's not like at this point, it's not like cabanas, it's not ice cream stands. Yeah, more I'm thinking about it, there's feathers, there's terrible smells, there's honking. I grew up in Wisconsin, a state with massive flocks of Canada geese, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Like a goose island to me, I'm like, no, I wouldn't go. You probably know that, up in the Midwest as well.
Yeah, like, it does not sound sexy, I gotta say.
Probably stunk. Okay.
Horribly.
So.
And geese are vicious. Like, they are, I would stay away.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, yeah, there's this little, sandy island with some geese on it that, probably, stinks.
Okay, they cleaned it up, I assume.
Yeah, so by the late 1800s, Vienna was growing very quickly and people were really starting to look for ways to cool off in the summer. And it was around this time as well, late 1800s, early 1900s, that new ideas around health, hygiene, and bathing were starting to emerge.
Okay.
And so into all of this, enter Florian Berndl. This was the guy who really originated the Gänsehäufel. So he kind of discovered this island. He was going for I guess he very regularly went for walks and kind of hiked around the city. And on one of these walks, he came across this sandy island with these geese on it. And he was a social reformer. He was a nature enthusiast. And, I guess he was a bit of a nudist visionary because he discovered this island and then he moved there with his wife and his sons. And he opened a very simple public bath to realize his vision of kind of very nature-based living, which was his whole thing. And he had this whole idea around health. And I do think this was sort of around the industrialization of Austria, right? So cities were quite dirty, and I think hygiene was pretty questionable.
Yeah.
And so he was one of these people that very much promoted getting out in nature, bathing, etc. And so he set up this simple little public bath. Well, actually, initially he just set up a little bath for himself, but he opened it to the public. And his motto, which I think is very nice, was that everybody, especially the working class, deserved access to clean water, sun, and fresh air. So he very much promoted, having places for the working class as well to sort of relax.
Yeah, it's kind of a cutting edge idea for 1900. Yeah.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time, I think. And his approach was considered kind of radical at the time. So he really promoted cold water. So, the ice baths or ice plunge, or what's it called these days?
I mean, there's polar plunges that happen, like, in nature. But yeah, otherwise, like, ice bath.
It's like a big thing now, right?
Cold tub.
Florian was on top of this like 125 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, wow.
So he was all about cold water plunges, sunbathing, nude swimming, and like quite strict natural living routines. And so at this point, it was less of a beach party and much more of a health commune.
Okay, wow.
But it became very popular among the Viennese, and it drew some prominent figures, especially from the more liberal parts of society. So there were artists and writers and kind of people from, maybe the more creative industries that, were drawn to this place.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and I just want to interject. This sounds like a Pacific Northwest vibe to me, actually, like a Pacific Northwest in the U.S. There's a lot more nudism and like body positivity here compared to, again, where we both grew up in the Midwest, I would say, in the U.S. Even the island thing is kind of similar. Like in Portland here, so not far from where I am, there are a few semi-famous nude beach islands in their river. So it's like almost this, exact analog kind of thing. And, it's like maybe not quite an hour from the city, so you're not just going to stumble upon it, but it's the same kind of super positive vibe kind of place. Like, you kind of take your own stuff there. There's not a ton of infrastructure, but like everyone knows it. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of reminding me of that. So cool.
Yeah, that sounds very similar, actually.
Yeah. Sauvie Island is the one I'm thinking of, if people know it.
What's it called? Saudi?
Sauvie Island? I think it's Sauvie. But yeah, I can send it to you, or maybe even like link in these show notes.
Yeah, that's a nice little analog.
Okay.
All right.
So like, how was this going then? Was this like Vienna loved it, live and let live, like from the government?
Well, so, it started off as this very basic commune, more or less. And like I said, it did attract quite a lot of, of the kind of more artistic, liberal people. The authorities were not thrilled. They were not a huge fan of this whole situation.
Oh.
So Florian Berndl had land leased the land, and he had kind of officially gotten some license or whatever to set up a bath here and to open it to the public. But yeah, the authorities were not super happy. He was repeatedly fined for public nudity. So this is, early 1900s, 1900, 1902, 1903, where there were still very different ideas about nudity.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually, after a couple of years, lost the right to operate the bath. And the main conflict that really led to the loss of his, license to operate this bath was with conservative circles that condemned men and women bathing together.
Okay, yeah, this has come up once or twice.
Yeah.
So
this is, Victorian era, there's lots of ideas about what men and women should be doing.
Yeah, still like 1900-ish. So yeah, it's really, very cutting edge.
Yeah, so he was ahead of his time because he did not separate men and women, and, it was like everybody was welcome. But the conservatives at the time didn't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
He was ahead of his time with his attitude, but previous episode alert, good old Sexy Karl, Kaluega,
okay,
who we've done an episode about.
He has his fingers in everything.
Yeah, yes. He was the mayor at the time. And he and his conservative supporters, they treated the Gänsehäufel with suspicion and disdain, and they were looking for reasons to shut it down, basically, because they didn't like this, mingling of the sexes.
Yeah.
So he ended up losing his license to run the bath in 1905, and the official reason that was given by the government was that he didn't have a license for the canteen that he had built on the island. He was like serving food and didn't have a license for that.
All right, you know what? We're figuring this out here. Vienna and Austria, there's some patterns, right? Like with the Schneepalast, that indoor skiing hill, right? In the end, it's kind of like a licensing thing. If they don't like how it's going, there's a license reason, right? I think it was something like that.
They know how to shut you down, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's right. The Schneepalast, I think, had a super delay in opening, right? Because he also couldn't get some kind of license.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Something. I feel like they had to make up a license that he didn't do right, something like that.
Oh, let me tell you, the Viennese authorities know how to get you on licensing issues.
Okay, all right.
So that also happened here. So anyway, yeah, he lost his license, but the idea had caught on. It was quite popular, and it was a really good place. It's this little island in the river. I mean, nothing else is happening there. And so after Berndl, was no longer allowed to operate the bath, the city ended up taking it over. And then they began developing the island into a really proper public pool. And they opened in 1907 as a municipal outdoor pool and recreation area.
Would this still have been Sexy Mayor Karl doing it? Like, is this...
Yes.
Really? Wow, like a total coup. Like, oh, you can't do that, yeah. Gimme it.
He was mayor until 1910
Wow.
or 1911. So that was definitely still in his time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yes, a total coup. Good point, yeah. He's like, you can't do it. And of course, when the city took it over, there was a men's area and a women's area, and the commingling was no longer so allowed, and the nudity also was gone. So they cleaned it up.
Okay.
According to them. But they did invest quite a lot, so they invested 500,000 kroner into the development of the island, and it included a restaurant, electrical lighting, which was very modern at the time, and a spring water pool, so a freshwater pool, which was also kind of unusual. I mean, the river itself is freshwater as well, of course, but there was an actual spring water pool that they built.
Okay.
And then they also really expanded it, so by 1911 it could accommodate up to 12,000 people, which, I mean, is pretty sizable, I would think, for 1911.
Okay. So you get like one last resort built before the empire falls.
Yeah.
Right? Lasted 1911. You enjoy that for a couple hours. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the timing was maybe not super optimal. So that kind of takes us into the next phase because, so far we've kind of talked about the early days, how it was built up. And then as the city took it over and expanded it, I mean, it was just before World War I, as you said. I couldn't really find much information about it during World War I, but it seems to have emerged pretty unscathed. I mean, I don't think... It was probably not very visited at the time and maybe was shut down, but I couldn't find information about that. But definitely after the war, in the 1920s, it definitely had a bit of an upswing again. And this was the time of Red Vienna in the 1920s, which we should do an episode on at some point too, because that's also a really...
Yeah, we've made a couple references now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just briefly, Red Vienna was really a time when the socialist city government invested very heavily in housing, health, and public life. And so the Gänsehäufel was a part of that.
Okay.
And so that meant building apartment blocks with bathtubs. Very radical, very new.
Oh, whoa. Slow down.
So people had bathtubs all of a sudden, things were changing.
Wow.
But they also invested a lot in creating green spaces, pools, access to nature for everybody, not just the elite. So more or less, that was the same ideals that Berndl had 20 years earlier when he had initially opened the Gänsehäufel and had, made it available to everyone. And so again, during this time, the Gänsehäufel was expanded and improved. And it became a symbol of egalitarian leisure. And you could sunbathe next to your neighbor, your boss, your postman. Everybody kind of came together.
Yeah, that gives me strong Japan vibes. I guess this is just an episode of references. Like, we mentioned this before. Cameron and I both lived there. And I remember being shocked when I saw coworkers, like, just naked in the bath, right? In an otherwise, like, kind of, I would say, sort of modest country.
Bathing with the postman, yes. I mean...
Bathing with the postman.
Yeah, there are some memories of Japan for me there, too, because you would just meet your neighbors in the bath. I mean, or your students, in my case, which is extra awkward.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about that. Okay, but, I mean, hey... live and let live, or whatever Berndl would say.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was, 1920s Vienna as well. You were just kind of hanging out at the baths. And, well, okay, I mean, we were just mentioning the nudity, but this was also a time when, these ideals that Berndl had been criticized for at the turn of the century and where the conservatives had, basically shut him down. His naturist approach was again taken up, and FKK, which is, do you know the term FKK?
Just because we talked about it in the run-up to this episode, I had not heard of it before that.
Yeah, so FKK is what in German people call nudist areas. And so FKK...
Oh, nudist areas. Okay, I still didn't know. I thought it was like a specific like movement or something. Oh.
Well, actually it is a movement. No, you're right. It's kind of morphed its meaning, I guess. I mean, it was a movement. FKK stands for Freikörperkultur, which means free body culture.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was this whole movement of, nudity and freeing yourself and liberation, etc. And so in the 1920s, that sort of had its first big upswing, and it was seen as politically progressive. It was seen as healthy and natural.
Okay, and then this is like the time when it started, or like that?
It's when the movement kind of first started, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say, like, it seems like Vienna came so far so quickly, right? Like, the Catholic Church was fighting women's bathrooms, like, what, 35 years before this? I just Googled it. Like, that's a long way, right? Like, that's a ton of modernization. That's a totally, like, different view of public bodies or something. So that's just, I don't know. Because I was thinking about that bathroom thing, and I'm like, oh, what was that, 200 years prior? No, it wasn't. That's a lot of ground to cover. So that's interesting.
That's true. You really went from, like, these Victorian... I mean, obviously that's like very related to England, but still, that sort of attitude was in all of Europe, right? This kind of buttoned up Victorian era, late 1800s, can't show your ankles kind of culture. And then 30 years later, it's like straight nude.
Yeah.
Talk about a turnaround.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So Vienna really kind of embraced this, and separate nude areas were created, and it really became also normal for entire families to just hang out.
Okay. This is like full, modern paradigm nudism then. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the real heyday was after the Second World War, but it kind of really started during this period. Okay. So yeah, there was no shame. There were no tan lines. People were living their lives.
Zero. All right.
Yeah, so the Gänsehäufel was going strong until it was bombed and largely destroyed in the last few weeks of the Second World War. So it seems to have been in operation as far as I could tell. I mean, again, there wasn't a ton of information here. It seems to have been kind of in operation, although I can imagine that maybe it wasn't very heavily visited during this time. And then in the very last couple weeks of the Second World War, it got heavily bombed. And so the buildings that were there were some slides, some pools had been built, and all of that basically was destroyed.
Okay.
So then it was shut down for a couple of years, but reconstruction started in 1948 and it reopened again in 1950.
It's pretty quick. Okay, like to me that says this is an important part of city life, if they prioritize it like that.
Yeah, they got right on it. And I would say this is the real era of the Gänsehäufel as an institution that it is today. It really kind of starts in the post-war period here. And again, now that they were rebuilding it and opening it again, it was again expanded and modernized. And, they kind of harkened back to the hygiene and worker movements of the pre-war period.
Yeah.
And now this was like the real hippie movement of the 1960s and 1970s. And so the FKK and the nudist element of it, really came into its own at this point.
Okay. All right. So that's like maybe on both sides of the Atlantic a little bit like that same timing. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the real golden era. And so, I mean, of course, public bathing over this entire period of time came with its own set of rules that changed over the history of it. And so you kind of really had this evolution as well from the very early 1900s when it was first established. Then you had this period with strict gender separation being enforced and bathing suits that, were very modest and covered like, 70% of your body or something.
Yeah.
But over time, attitudes, of course, shifted and the bathing suits got smaller, the gender rules relaxed over time. And yeah, by the 70s and 80s, the nude area became fully accepted. It was, as I already mentioned, and continues to be clearly segregated from the rest and is well signposted, but it's really not very controversial. That said, there were always some debates, and you always had the conservative elements of society that, would question whether the nudity was too provocative, should kids be allowed, where do you separate, like, who is allowed in and who's not, how public is it? But overall, Viennese culture really leaned towards an attitude of live and let live.
Okay, so, like, what are the modesty rules now? Like, from what you're saying, I feel like I could just, go to the nude area, sort of do whatever. I wouldn't have to, like, I don't know, there wouldn't be some tricky rules to it, or are there?
No, there's not really any tricky rules to it. And I will say, even in the non-nudist part, being topless is not totally uncommon. I mean, it's actually...
Okay.
I would say at the Gänsehäufel it's not that common as it might be in other places, but it's not weird. And plenty of people also go topless. And then only in the nude area are people fully naked. But no, you just go there and you do your thing.
Okay.
I will say the average age is probably like 60 plus in the nudist area. So, I mean, it's more of an old person's game.
Oh,
but...
okay. Yeah, and I mean, isn't that kind of always the case? I feel like it's like depends on the beach or something here. But if you're just going to go to a general one, it tends to be like, maybe people have been doing it for decades or something. But okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it's the Gänsehäufel in general has a fairly... Well, no, that's not true. I was going to say it's an old population, but that's not really true. Just the people who are regulars tend to be the older crowd.
Okay.
So yeah, where does that leave us today with the Gänsehäufel? It is probably the most popular public pool or recreation area in Vienna, and it's definitely one of the biggest, and in fact, one of the biggest in Europe. And I would say the only real rival that it has in Vienna is the Donauinsel, which is this island in the Danube.
Okay.
Which is also a big recreation area, but that is just free. You can just go there and do whatever you want. The Gänsehäufel, is managed and operated, and you do have to pay an entrance fee, so it's a bit different.
Okay.
It continues to have a very retro 1950s, 1960s vibe. So
that sounds okay. It's sounding cooler now, actually.
I really think a lot of the stuff that is there is still from that time. It at least has very much that feeling. And one big part of it is the cabana culture.
Okay.
So there's all these little cabanas on the island. They're very basic. They're very simple. They're like just these sort of brick huts, more or less. And sometimes they don't even have running water. Some of them don't have electricity, although I think at this point most of them do. You cannot stay overnight in them. And you can only be there during normal opening hours. So from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. or whatever time. Like the park is open.
So there's definitely a lot of specific rules, but these all seem like, you would have like an orderly place, especially like for 30,000 people or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and so people rent these cabanas because you can actually rent them, and you can rent them, people rent them for years. So once you've rented it, you just have to keep paying, and then it's yours for as long as you continue paying the rent for it.
Okay.
And so people have them for like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. And so all these little cabana communities that have developed, and they have their own little cultures. And people treat them as their summer residences. I mean, it's like kind of amazing. They're like these basic little houses.
All right, I saw pictures that you shared. They are really like, it's more than a hut, but I mean, it's like a room, really. And they're like kind of decorated cute, which I think is cool. Like, and what you're saying for like the little cultures, all these little separate cultures, that it kind of does give me like a KOA vibe. If you know that from the US, it's called like Campgrounds of America.
Okay.
And it was these like these RV hookup places. Sometimes they're like little campgrounds that have basic amenities, and you can kind of book it, and it's like uber cheap, and they're sort of all over the place. And I feel like it's less common now, but when you and I were growing up, that was more common.
Yes, totally.
You know what I'm talking
I
about?
definitely stayed at some of
and
those.
then people would just go to the same ones, or they're like, oh, we always go this weekend with our neighbors, and like, so maybe there's a similar sort of feel.
Did they have like a red and yellow sign with like a teepee tent thing on it? Yes.
I think so.
Definitely stayed at some of those, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
What are they called? I didn't recognize the name.
Campgrounds of America.
Campground. Okay,
I think KOA, because for some reason, like, the campgrounds is a K.
Oh, do you know why I didn't get it? Is this just my immigrant family? We always called it KOA. Is that wrong?
Oh, maybe it's called KOA. I mean, but my parents called it KOA?
Okay, my parents called it KOA.
Okay.
But maybe that's because they're Austrian.
All right. Oh, look, KOA rewards, earn double points. They are modern right now. I just Googled for the first time ever in my life. Okay.
But yeah, okay, sort of similar vibe, right? You always go back to the same place. It's very basic.
Or I feel like people did, yeah.
See the same people.
I think so, yeah, because I think we did it a couple of times, and it was with neighbors.
I think that was like... Yeah. Had its heyday in the 90s in the US, probably. People are like glamping now.
Probably.
They're too cool for that these days.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But anyway, the cabanas at the Gänsehäufel are going strong, and it's like a 6 or 7 year wait to get a cabana. Like, you have to get on a waiting list, and then you only get one when, something becomes available because somebody gives up theirs. And so it takes like 6, 7, 8 years, something like that, to get a cabana if you want one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's what I heard. Like years long wait lists for these passes. So according to Wikipedia at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And then people they decorate their cabanas. They get very into it. I mean, you can't change the cabana itself structurally, right? I mean, it's just this little.
Okay. No adding towers.
No adding towers. No adding walls or anything. I mean, there's no space to do that anyway. But what you can do is you can add like pinwheels and garden gnomes and little light chains and stuff, and so people get very creative in their little chintzy decorations, basically.
It sounds like a vibe. Have you been in one?
I've not been inside, although one of my
get over there and start making some friends, okay, with some 75-year-olds. Hurry
one
up.
of my coworkers, who I think is like 35, he has one, so I gotta get myself invited.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
But there's like rituals around the cabana. You don't just show up. You have to be invited, and then there's like mostly 80-year-old people. So it's like lunch is at 12, and you better be here at exactly this time. It has a ritual to it. They know who belongs and who doesn't. And of course there's a ton of other visitors around, but the cabanas are like their own little world. Okay,
I like these quirks actually. And yeah, this matches the pictures that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of flower decor and yeah, cute cafe chairs. Cool.
Yeah, that's the Gänsehäufel, and it's keeping its 1950s, 1960s retro vibes alive.
Okay. So what does the Gänsehäufel tell us about Vienna? Because this does seem like more integrated than I kind of thought. It's like, we were talking about like some peripheral beach.
Yeah, but it has a long history, and I do think that it ties in a lot with movements within the city in general.
Yeah, it seems like a bunch kind of like shaped it or tried to kind of claim it at different times, or attack it.
Yeah, or reflected in some ways also the changing kind of moral ideas of the city and, how to incorporate the working class and stuff. So I think a main part of it back then and continuing today is that it really is kind of about equality, access, and dignity. Like anybody can go there. It's available. I mean, you do pay, but it costs €7 to enter for an adult for a full day. So, for 5 pools, a wave pool, a bunch of beaches, beach volleyball, whatever. There's like a ton of amenities. And so in that sense, it's very affordable. It's sort of available to everybody. Anybody can get one of these cabanas. You just have to get on a list and then you wait until something's available. There's no such thing as I'm going to pay 5 times the price and, jump the line. That doesn't exist.
Okay, that's really nice. So do you recommend visitors to Vienna check it out? Is this really more of a locals place and like it would be kind of hard to navigate or experience, or what do you think?
I think if you're in Vienna in the summer and it's hot, like 35 plus degrees, I mean, get to the Danube in one way or another, whether it's the Gänsehäufel or somewhere else. The city is miserable when it's that hot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so the Gänsehäufel is a little bit hard to get to, I will say. It's not the easiest in terms of the connection, because it's a little bit at the edge of the city and you have to a little bit know how to get there. But honestly, if you're in the city and you're walking around and you're overheating, I mean, the Gänsehäufel is as good a place as any to go. It's big, there's always space, there's lots of shade, and, it's a historical institution, and it's where the Viennese go.
Okay. That sounds like a recommendation. Okay, for the discerning traveler, you want to really experience, I would say it sounds like, Viennese experience.
Yeah.
Cool.
See some 1950s retro style. And then honestly, you can spend a whole day there. I mean, there's water slides, tennis, mini golf. There's a high ropes course there. I mean, you pay €7 to enter and you have 55 activities to do.
That sounds great.
And if you didn't bring a swimsuit, no problem. Head over to the nudist area.
That's true too. You have no excuse.
You don't need bathing attire.
Just come as you are.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Come as you are, exactly. When am I going next? Was that your question?
Yeah. Any plans now? Or do you go once a summer or not even?
I usually go a couple of times in the summer. I was there a week and a half ago.
Oh, wow. All right.
So I've been there this year. I'll probably go a couple of times, but I don't exactly plan it weeks out. It's really a spontaneous thing.
Okay.
But it's a nice place to go. I go there a couple of times every year, I'd say.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, this sounds like a recommendation to me.
Oh, it's a recommendation. And then you can brush up on your history.
Yeah.
Check the place out and, see if you find some geese still hanging around. There probably are some.
That's right. There may still be a small pile of them. Okay.
Exactly. I don't know how alive they are, but it's a pile of geese in any case. All right, that is it for our show. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, share with your friends or leave us a 5-star review. And if you didn't like it, then, well, don't worry about that review.
Right. You can find us on social medias, Vienna Past and Pres on Instagram, or send us your episode ideas at viennapastandpresent@gmail.com.
Auf Wiedersehen, Pfiat euch, Baba.
Bye.